What if the problem with your college dorm isn't that it's too small? What if you simply have too much inside it? A tiny room can feel surprisingly spacious when everything has a purpose and a place. But add clothes to the chair, books to the floor, chargers across the desk, empty bottles beside the bed, and random items that you rarely use, and suddenly that same room feels suffocating. The interesting thing is that you don't necessarily need more storage. You may need fewer things, better systems, and a different way of thinking about space. This is where Japanese minimalism and efficiency can offer some powerful lessons. Because Japanese minimalism isn't simply about having an empty room, it's about making your environment work for you. And in a small college dorm, that can make a huge difference. College students often have to live with a difficult combination: limited space and unlimited responsibilities. You have classes, assignments, exams, social activities, personal responsibilities, and sometimes a job. And all of that happens while you are living in a room that may only contain a bed, a desk, a wardrobe, and a few square meters of walking space. That makes organization more than an aesthetic choice. It becomes a practical necessity. The good news is that you don't need expensive furniture or a huge budget to improve your dorm. You can borrow several principles associated with Japanese minimalism and efficiency and adapt them to everyday student life. The goal isn't to make your room look like a luxury apartment. The goal is to make it easier to study, sleep, move around, find your belongings, and maintain order. So let's look at how you can do exactly that. Chapter 1. Own less, but own better. The first principle is perhaps the most obvious. Own fewer unnecessary things. This sounds simple, but it can be surprisingly difficult. College is a period when possessions accumulate quickly. You buy something because it's useful. Someone gives you something. You receive free merchandise. You buy clothes. You collect notebooks. You keep old school materials. Then, before you realize it, your room is full. The problem is that every possession requires space, and in a small dorm, space is extremely valuable. So instead of asking, "Where can I store this?" ask, "Do I actually need this?" Look through your clothes. Look through your drawers. Look under your bed. Look at your desk. Look at the items you haven't touched in months. Some things will obviously be necessary. Others won't. You don't need to eliminate everything that isn't used every day. Some items have sentimental value. Some are seasonal. Some are important even if they're rarely used. The goal isn't extreme minimalism. The goal is intentional ownership. Keep the things that are useful, meaningful, or genuinely enjoyable. Be more careful about the things that simply occupy space. Chapter 2. Give everything a home. Once you've reduced unnecessary clutter, the next step is simple. Everything should have a place. Your backpack should have a place. Your shoes should have a place. Your dirty laundry should have a place. Your textbooks should have a place. Your chargers should have a place. Your toiletries should have a place. Why does this matter? Because when something doesn't have a designated home, it tends to remain wherever you last used it. Your headphones end up on the bed. Your charger ends up on the floor. Your clothes end up on the chair. Your books end up on the desk. Eventually, the room becomes a collection of temporary locations. A designated home eliminates that problem. You don't need to think about where something goes. You simply return it. And that saves time. More importantly, it prevents small amounts of clutter from becoming overwhelming. Chapter 3. Don't fill every space. One mistake people make in small rooms is trying to use every available inch. They think, "I don't have much space, so I need to fill every space." But empty space isn't necessarily wasted space. In fact, empty space can make a small room feel larger and more comfortable. Your desk doesn't need to be completely covered. Your shelves don't need to be full. Your walls don't need to be covered with decorations. Your floor should have enough open space for you to move comfortably. This idea is important because a room isn't only about storage, it is also about movement and mental comfort. A completely full desk makes studying harder. A crowded floor makes movement harder. An overloaded shelf makes finding things harder. So deliberately leave some empty space. Think of empty space as part of your room's functionality. Chapter 4. Separate work from rest. Your bed is probably the largest object in your dorm, and because of that, it's tempting to use it for everything. You study there. You watch videos there. You eat there. You scroll through your phone there. And eventually, you sleep there. But separating functions can make your room more efficient. Whenever possible, make your desk the place for studying. Make your bed the place for rest. This creates a simple psychological association. When you sit at your desk, your brain receives the signal. It's time to focus. When you get into bed, the signal changes. It's time to rest. This becomes especially useful when you're trying to maintain a consistent routine. And there's another simple habit that helps. Make your bed every morning. It takes very little time, but it immediately changes the appearance of the entire room. Chapter 5. Create a minimalist desk. Your desk is one of the most important areas in your dorm. It's where you probably spend a large portion of your academic life. So don't allow it to become a storage area. Keep only the things you regularly need. Your laptop, notebook, writing materials, a lamp if necessary, perhaps a water bottle. Everything else should have another home. When you finish studying, take a minute to reset the desk. Put your notebook away. Return your pens. Organize your cables. Remove rubbish. Clear unnecessary items. This creates a simple cycle. Use reset leave. The benefit is that tomorrow's study session begins with a clean workspace rather than yesterday's mess. Chapter 6. Use vertical and hidden space. A small dorm may have limited floor space, but that doesn't mean storage options are limited. Look upward. Shelves, permitted wall storage, hooks, the back of doors, and underbed areas can all provide additional storage depending on your dorm's rules. The important principle is to use space intelligently. Frequently used items should be easy to reach. Less frequently used items can be stored farther away. Seasonal items can occupy less accessible areas, but don't make the mistake of turning every available surface into storage. The goal isn't to maximize the amount of stuff you can fit into the room. The goal is to maximize how easily you can live in the room. Chapter 7. Make your routines automatic. Efficiency often comes from reducing decisions. Imagine waking up late for class. You don't know what you're wearing. Your backpack isn't packed. Your laptop isn't charged. You can't find your notes. Now you're wasting precious time solving problems that could have been handled the night before. Instead, create a simple evening routine. Check tomorrow's schedule. Prepare your clothes. Pack your backpack. Charge your devices. Put important items near the door. Then reset your room. In the morning, you don't have to figure everything out. You simply follow the system. This is one of the biggest advantages of organization. You make fewer decisions. And fewer unnecessary decisions mean more energy for things that actually matter. Chapter 8. Control your clothes. Clothing is one of the easiest ways for a small dorm to become cluttered. A wardrobe gets full. Then the chair becomes a second wardrobe. Then the bed becomes a third. Before long, you're sleeping beside piles of clothes. A simple system can prevent this. Clean clothes go into your wardrobe or drawers. Dirty clothes go directly into the laundry basket. Clothes that need to be worn again can have one designated location. Don't create 5 temporary locations. Keep the system simple. You can also simplify your wardrobe. You don't need endless versions of the same type of clothing. Think about what you actually wear for classes, studying, exercise, sleeping, and social activities. Keep what works. Remove what you consistently ignore. A simpler wardrobe means less storage pressure and fewer decisions every morning. Chapter 9. Stop buying storage for everything. Here's a common mistake. Your dorm gets cluttered. You buy a storage box. Then another. Then a drawer organizer. Then another shelf. Eventually, you're surrounded by storage containers. But the room is still crowded. Why? Because storage doesn't automatically solve excess. Sometimes, you're simply putting clutter inside smaller boxes. Before buying another organizer, reduce. Then organize. Then determine whether additional storage is actually necessary. A good rule is, don't buy storage for things you don't need. Storage should support your system, not replace one. Chapter 10. Apply minimalism to your phone. Your dorm isn't the only place that can become cluttered. Your phone can too. Thousands of screenshots, unused apps, random downloads, constant notifications, dozens of open tabs, unorganized school files. Digital clutter can consume attention even though it doesn't occupy physical space. So apply the same principle. Delete what you don't need. Organize important academic files. Remove unnecessary apps. Turn off notifications that don't matter. Keep your home screen simple. Your phone should help you manage college life, not constantly interrupt it. Chapter 11. Use the 1-minute reset. One of the easiest habits you can develop is the 1-minute reset. Whenever you finish an activity, spend about a minute returning the room to its normal state. Finished eating? Dispose of the rubbish. Finished studying? Reset the desk. Changed clothes? Put them where they belong. Finished using your toiletries? Return them. Coming back from class? Put your backpack in its designated location. These actions seem insignificant, but they prevent small messes from accumulating. And that's the secret. You don't want to spend an entire Saturday cleaning a room that could have been maintained in a few minutes each day. Chapter 12. Create zones. Even a tiny dorm can have zones. Your bed can be your rest zone. Your desk can be your study zone. Your wardrobe can be your clothing zone. A small area can be your personal or relaxation zone. The boundaries don't need to be physical. They simply need to be understood. This prevents the entire room from becoming one giant mixed-use space, and if you have a roommate, clear zones become even more important. You know what belongs to you. They know what belongs to them. That can reduce unnecessary conflict and confusion. Chapter 13. Don't try to be perfect. This might be the most important principle of all. Minimalism should make your life easier. It shouldn't become another source of stress. Your dorm doesn't have to look perfect every hour. You're a college student. You will have busy days. You will sometimes leave something on your desk. You will sometimes come back exhausted and drop your backpack on the floor. That's normal. The objective isn't perfection. It's recovery. When things get messy, reset them. When your system stops working, improve it. When you acquire something new, decide where it belongs. This is where the idea of continuous improvement becomes useful. You don't need to transform everything at once. Make small improvements. Then repeat them. Chapter 14. Minimalism also applies to your time. There's another kind of clutter that can be even more damaging than physical clutter. Schedule clutter. You can have a perfectly organized room while your calendar is completely chaotic. Too many commitments. Too many activities. Too many notifications. Too many distractions. Too little rest. Minimalism can apply to your schedule too. Ask yourself, what actually matters this semester? Your education, your relationships, your responsibilities, your health, your rest, your personal goals. Not every opportunity needs to become an obligation. Not every invitation requires a yes. Not every notification needs your attention. Sometimes becoming more efficient means doing fewer things, but doing the important things better. Chapter 15. Build a room that supports your life. Ultimately, this is what Japanese minimalism can teach you. Your dorm doesn't exist to impress people. It exists to support you. Your desk should help you study. Your bed should help you rest. Your storage should make your belongings easier to manage. Your room should allow you to move comfortably. And your possessions should contribute something meaningful to your life. That's the real purpose of minimalism. Not having nothing, but making room for what matters. Practical daily routine. So let's turn everything into one simple routine. In the morning, make your bed. Put dirty clothes in the laundry basket. Return anything that doesn't belong where you found it. Check your schedule. Leave with your prepared backpack. During the day, return things after using them. Avoid creating temporary piles. Keep your desk primarily for studying. In the evening, put your clothes away. Reset your desk. Throw away rubbish. Charge your devices. Prepare your backpack and clothes for tomorrow. Then, go to sleep with your room ready for the next day. This routine may take only a few minutes, but repeated every day, it can completely change the way your dorm feels. Your college dorm may be small, but a small room doesn't have to create a small life. You don't necessarily need more space. You may need better use of the space you already have. You may need fewer possessions, fewer decisions, better routines, and clearer boundaries between work, rest, and storage. Japanese minimalism offers a powerful idea. Don't fill your environment simply because you have space to fill. Instead, make room for what actually matters. Make room for concentration. Make room for rest. Make room for creativity. Make room for relationships. And make room for yourself. So when you look around your dorm today, don't ask, where can I put all this stuff? Ask, what deserves to be here? That single question can change the way you see your entire room. And once your environment becomes simpler, your daily life can become simpler too. Start with your desk. Remove what you don't need. Give everything else a home. Create one small reset routine. Then improve from there. You don't need to become a perfect minimalist. You simply need to create a space that makes the life you want a little easier to live. And sometimes, that is what true efficiency looks like. Not doing more, but removing what gets in the way of what matters. If this video changed the way you think about your dorm, subscribe to the channel for more practical ideas on minimalism, discipline, and intentional living. And before you go, take a look around your room and choose one thing you can simplify today. Then leave a comment and tell me what you're going to change first.